This is Debbie Lynn Toomey, Tufts Medical Center's Injury Prevention Coordinator. And you are watching this through HealthLinks, which is a program under the QATV. HealthLinks also has this program, Aging Strong, which is Tufts Medical Center's injury prevention and outreach program that aims to empower older adults with resources and information that's going to be really useful for their lives. And this program is sponsored by the Quincy Health Department. Today, I'm very excited to share with you our guest speaker. His name is Officer Mike Monahan. And Officer Mike Monahan, I met him a couple of weeks ago when he brought his special partner along, which is Eddie the dog. And since that moment, I couldn't wait to share Mike with you and to tell us what he does and how they were able to get Eddie and other senior programs that is offered through the Sheriff's County Office. So, Officer Mike, you're on.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for having me on this rainy day. My name is Officer Mike Monahan. I work up at the Norfolk County Sheriff's Department in Dedham. I've been up there just going on 23 years. I got the opportunity to run a comfort dog. Sheriff Pat McDermott got elected, and he posted the position, and we now have a comfort dog named Eddie. I was lucky enough to get the dog. So I picked him up. He's a rescue from Florida. A company called Professional Canine Services out of Middleborough called and said they had a dog ready. So I went down and I met Eddie. We got along very well day one. I took him home for a couple of days and then we started our training. So our training consisted of about 6 to 8 weeks of just training, obedience training, all of that good stuff, sits downs, very simple, just to make sure he's a passive, nice and gentle dog, depending on what we do. So we did that. We had to get state certified to the state of Massachusetts to be able to go into the schools. So we met with a state instructor. He gave Eddie all A pluses as a flying colors, and off we were. That was last April, early May. Since then, almost a year later, it has been off the hook busy. We currently go to all the Council on Agings in Norfolk County. We go to Milton Hospital. We go to Weymouth South Shore Hospital. We go to Curry College. We go to all the schools. We try to do the young kids from kindergarten through third grade. The Council on Aging's kindergarten through third grade. The hospitals, Curry College, and really I don't know what else I'm missing, but it's absolutely busy. Just to try to get to all the schools in Norfolk County is forever because you're on their schedule. Obviously, there's lunch and there's gym and there's math and there's English, and so you can only show up for about 35 minutes. But that 35 minutes with the young kids is amazing. The most I think we get the most satisfaction when we go to the Council on Aging. We try to do again every Council on Aging in Norfolk County. We have a woman who is in charge of that, who's through the Sheriff's Department in Dedham. Her name's Cheryl Bambry. She sets up all of those. We talk usually once a month and she tells me what she's got going. And usually I do a surprise visit with Eddie. Sometimes they don't even know we're coming. And we walk in and it just lightens the load. The people, all the seniors, they smile and they ask questions, and you try to get in and out of there and you look at the clock and you're there 2.5 hours later. But you know what? It puts a smile on their faces and it gets them through the day that day. And they always ask when he's coming back. Mm-hmm. So usually every Monday I turn on my computer and I get about 6 or 7 or 8 emails. Can you come this week? Can you come that week? So usually we're booked out. I work 5 days, Monday through Friday, but as the summer comes, there's a lot of events over the weekends. So I find myself working 6 or 7 days with him, just showing up for the events and the community events and all of that stuff. So it's very, very busy over here. This took off. With the times being the way the times are, the sheriff thought that the comfort and the emotional support dog was the way to go. We currently have 4 more dogs at the jail. We have a narcotics dog, we have a gun dog, we have a search and rescue dog, and we have Eddie, basically. So we're busy. Our canine unit is busy. But they have all different things that they do. And as far as, that's kind of the gist of what I do on a daily basis. Like I said, it gets very busy, but it's nice to put a smile on everyone's faces when you come in. I think I forgot to say most of the libraries, we try to attend most of the libraries within Norfolk County. If you don't know, a lot of the libraries, like the Council on Aging, do a lot for the seniors. They do programs and they do all this different stuff. If you kind of log on to your town's website, it'll show you every day they have something going on there, whether it be for kids or seniors or anything like that. So again, we're contacted from the library and they think it's a great idea. So we show up and Eddie just kind of works the crowd a little bit and does his thing. And we get to hang out and have fun.
Yeah, that's great. So I was wondering, what is the difference between a dog like Eddie and also a dog or a pet that somebody owns for themselves to help them with their own stress and medical reasons?
There's not really much of a difference, but Eddie is under a state mandate that we train 8 hours a month. And basically the training is, if I notice something during the month that I want to work on with him, like I mentioned, we go to a lot of the hospitals. So what we'll do is, and some of the patients can't get out of the bed. So what I like him to do is I'll put a chair next to the bed and he'll kind of put his paws on it just to get up high enough so the patient can pet him or whatever's going on, So little things like that. That takes a lot for a dog to put his 2 front legs up on and be calm doing it. The biggest thing for a comfort and emotional support dog on my end is the obedience. He's a kind, good dog. He's not aggressive. He doesn't jump up. He won't scratch you. He never shows his teeth. He's not aggressive. So just as a family pet, I would assume anyone really can get online and get a certificate of a comfort and emotional support dog. But you need to know if you're going to label your family pet a comfort or emotional support dog, you need to have that dog in somewhat of a calm manner and an obedient manner. And a lot of people can't do it on their own. There's something called life that you're just busy all day long. And usually your pet is the last to benefit from you when you get home from work and drive all the kids everywhere and all that stuff. So me and Eddie are lucky we get to train on our day, on a couple of hours here or there. We'll work on what we need to work on. I have a trainer. His name's Charlie Young. He's from Professional Canine Services in Middleborough. He's always on the phone with me. I always call and bounce things off him. If there's something different I want to do, we work on it together. It's like a partnership. It's a team. He's been very good.
Wow, that's great. That's great. So do you see dogs like Eddie becoming more and more popular? And do you think the department will be able to get another dog just to kind of help alleviate all the, it sounds like a very busy.
So we were very surprised how busy it kind of took off. I have about 4 people that kind of I answer to on a daily basis. And I shouldn't say answer to, but they're getting calls just like I'm getting calls. So they're kind of trying to, what's your schedule look like Monday? What's your schedule look like Tuesday? And we don't want to say no to anybody because it's only less than a year old, the program. But, there comes a time where you can only do 1 or 2 a day, and you got to look out for Eddie too. He's also a young dog. He just turned 16 months old. He's still a baby in a lot of ways. And, he gets tired too. So I'm putting him in and out of the car and driving him from one end of the county to the other. And we only expect him to do 1 or 2 events a day. And again, you got to look out for him and give him his downtime too. But yeah, like I said, it's, I would say within the next 6 or 8 months, I would say just about every police department in Norfolk County, there is a lot of police departments, including the state police, will have either a comfort or emotional support dog.
Wow. Yeah.
Now, depending on how they can get out in the community or whatever, that would be up to their department who would, they'd allow them to go out or do whatever. But, the sheriff's very lenient with Eddie and I. He allows us just to get out there, and that's our job every day, is to go out into the community, create work, create an environment where they're excited to see you come. And we've been doing that for the last year. And it's like I said, the more you go, the more people see you, and the more people want you to come over to see them in their environment.
Exactly. So. My office at Tufts Medical Center is very close to the volunteers department, and Tufts Medical Center has a dog, Bob. Mm-hmm. And I could see how Bob really benefits the patients benefit, but also the employees, the staff. Right. I can't walk by Bob and not stop by and just kind of like sit and, give him a pat. And then every once in a while I'd see other staff members they would just stop by and sit down and just kind of sit there with Bob. So I'm sure that, Eddie is helping not only the people out in the community, but also people in the sheriff's department.
Yep. Okay? So, you bring up the staff. So I try to go to Milton Hospital twice a month on the Tuesdays. So we try to arrive like right after rounds. It's right about 10:30 is when they do their morning rounds. So the first Tuesday of the month is basically designed for the patients. I'll go to the patient's room. The nurses know I'm coming. They know, who needs to see who would benefit from seeing Eddie that day, depending on what's going on with that patient. And then the next Tuesday, I just hang out at the nurses station. I go to each floor. They got water waiting for them. They got treats waiting for them. And you should see the nurses come from everywhere. and they just kind of stop what they're doing. And they're all, you look up and they're all on one knee and they're all petting Eddie and playing with him. And Eddie's kissing him and giving him his paw and taking treats from him. And so that's a great point. Like you said, it's just as much for the staff at the hospital, because I don't know how Tufts Medical Center is lately, but Milton Hospital is very understaffed and they're busy and they're getting forced to work shifts. And so these nurses are working very hard, and that's what the public doesn't see, and they may have to stay 4 or 6 or 8 more hours out of their day, what they call it getting forced on a shift, because it's just not enough employees. So when you show up with Eddie and he walks through the crowd and the nurse that just got forced for 16 hours sees him, it's just nice to see the smile on his or her face,
Definitely. It's a breath of fresh air. Definitely.
Oh,
Yeah. And it's good that the nursing staff knows when you're coming, because I remember when I used to do bedside nursing, and this is before we had Bob the dog, but we have chaplains.
Yep.
And so, the chaplains would do their evening rounds. And this is when I was doing the evening shift. And I would look forward to when they would come to the floor, because depending on the patients that I have, I know that there's some patients who would really benefit from somebody stopping by and just to say hi, somebody, somewhat neutral, so that they could kind of discuss, whatever's going on in their mind that's non-medical related. So, I could see in a way how Eddie can do that, or, your presence there and Eddie's presence there to, can help people get that mental break. And also just that feeling of like, okay, good, I can just relax for a little bit, which is an energy booster. It can help people feel that they just got this little micro break, which actually can help with their peak performance and ability to take care of others.
Right. And what it is? It's just a smile on their face. You know how it is to go to work every day and get beat down and just say, oh my God, this is, that affects your home life when you go home and you're fighting with your kids and your husband and all that good stuff or whatever's going on in your home. But just to see the smile is incredible. Just to see some of these people, how they react with the dog and they thank you. And I get emails constantly. I get, phone message. Thank you so much. You don't know what it did for me. And it's nice even on my end to know that you're doing something nice for somebody. It's a good way to end a career of, like I said, I've been up to jail for 23 years, and it's a nice thing to go out and be happy with the work that I'm doing out in the community. And like I said, it wouldn't have happened if it's not for Sheriff Pat McDermott. When he got elected, this was a big deal to him. He wanted to do this. He saw the community and how it was reeling. Remember, we just got out of COVID and everything going on with law enforcement. And it was the perfect timing that he interjected this opportunity for me. And like I said, it's taken off. Yeah,
definitely, because mental health is a big issue, and fortunately, it's becoming more of a topic that's discussed on the table and not being stigmatized, which still is, but it's becoming more of a conversation where people are able to say, oh, okay, I have anxiety or all these different types of mental health issues, and to be able to for the sheriff to be on the forefront and really being thoughtful about how it can help. Having a dog like Eddie help the community is just amazing. That's great. Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about your background. So you mentioned you'd been in the force.
Yep. So I got hired. I got hired September 25th, 2000. I was 21 years old. I got hired under Mike Bellotti, who a lot of people, if you're from Quincy, Mike Bellotti. He was my boss for 20 years. So he took a chance on a young kid. I grew up in the town of Braintree, so I didn't really even know what the sheriff's department did. So I got a chance. I got hired there, and for the first 14 years, I worked inside the prison. And for a young, immature guy to walk into an adult men's prison, you grow up real fast, and you kind of understand working in a county jail that these, you not only work with these inmates every day, but there also could be your neighbors or from your same town, so it humbles you pretty quick. I'm a pretty good talker and I like to talk to people and stuff. So it's communication to be able to work up at the jail. And if you have communication, it's 99% of the job. It's all in how you talk to people. So I learned that as I went on. Obviously it's a learning curve. So about 14 years on the job, they posted a canine job. So what happened was I put in for it, and I think about 16 people put in for the job. And I was lucky enough, I got the narcotic canine. So for 10 years, about 9 years, just a little over 9, I ran a narcotics canine. His name is Randy. He retired last year, but he's still around. He's still my pet now. We had a lot of success, and we were the first yellow lab passive narcotic dog at the Dedham jail. So they never had that before. So I came in, and again, that took off. I was busy. I was assigned to 2 federal task forces. We were doing a lot of drug work. We were having a lot of fines. So it was busy. In the meantime, I had 4 children. You know, my wife was pregnant 4 times. So we were building a family, and we were busy and working hard. And so I did that for a little under 9 years, a little over 9 years. So it was time for Randy to retire, and I was trying to make a decision on what I wanted to do. In the meantime, Sheriff Pat McDermott got elected. And he called the K-9 unit into a meeting and says, listen, you know, what can we do? This is what I'm thinking of doing. And he introduced himself and told us his ideas of how he wanted the sheriff's department and what angle and what view he wanted to have, you know, the outlook on the street. And he mentioned this, and within 2 weeks, this job was posted. We're a union, so you have to post a job and everybody has to apply, all that good stuff. So I applied for it, and I was lucky enough to get it. And, you know, I promised him. I sat in his office and I said, listen, I will do my best to get out on the street and promote this program. I think it's a great program. And so here we are, you know, less than a year later, and it's busy and it's taken off. And who knows, there might be a second one on the horizon at some point. But it's just, like I said, I just keep going every day. And so that's, you know, I complete my 23rd year in September. So I go on to my 24th year. So I've been here a long time.
Wow. So Can you talk a little bit about the K-9, the dogs, the narcotic, the ones who specialize in narcotics? How are they different from a dog like Eddie? So
as far as training, so the dog's different. The dogs are trained on about 28, 29 different odors of narcotics. All the way down from, like, if you go to a dentist and get, like, a Percocet or whatever he gives you for pain, all the way up to kilos of cocaine and heroin and crystal meth and all that stuff. So it's the odor that we train them on. And about 99% of the dogs nowadays are all food reward dogs, at least in the canine group that we train with, which is about 190 dogs. So basically every dog likes to eat. So what you do is you train the dog. When he finds the odor, he gets food reward. He gets rewarded. So the dog will basically be taught to go into a room and search for a narcotic odor. When he finds the narcotic odor, he sits in front of that odor and he sits hitting his nose on the odor source. And what you do is how you train him is you feed him right then and there. So you hand feed the dog. So the dog is eating just as much as a normal house pet is eating, but he's working for his food, as opposed to a house pet doesn't have to do anything. He gets 2 cups in the morning, off to work you go, whether he eats it or not, it's on him. Mm-hmm. So Eddie is more on the house pet category, where he eats out of a food bowl. He doesn't have to work for food, but we trained him to be obedient with food. So every time he laid down or gave us his paw, he would get a treat. So he's come so far that now we don't even have to do that with him anymore. So I feed him in the morning and I feed him in the afternoon when we get home after work. And he just does, he's who he is now, and he doesn't even need to be rewarded. So we trained him with food, but we don't have to continue it with food. As far as a narcotics dog or a gun dog or anything like that, constant training, 16 hours a month, because you could be in court too. So you need to know how to do that. You know, when you go out and you have these fines, you have to go to court and basically testify and what your dog does every month and how you're getting him ready and how he's trained in that certain narcotic or that certain gun that you found, and all the legality issues come in with those types of dogs. Not so much with Eddie. Eddie's just a fun-loving family pet dog that goes out and puts a smile on everyone's face every day.
That's great. Wow. I didn't realize so much. There is so much at stake in the discipline that's required for the canine dogs.
Yeah. Wow. Well, and like it is, when you take him out there and you go into these schools and counsel on aging and stuff, like, you can't have a dog that jumps up. You can't have a dog that scratches, and I hate to say it, but you don't want to find yourself embedded in a lawsuit on something, mistakenly that happens, that someone's not too happy, whether, you scratch somebody or something happened, or who knows nowadays. So you just have to check all your boxes and know your dog. It comes down to knowing your dog. If you think your dog's going to jump up that day, maybe you don't go in there. You reschedule for the next day. Or a good handler knows his dog.
Yeah. That's a very good point. Very good point. Now, can you speak a little bit about the other programs that the sheriff's office have as far as for seniors?
For seniors. So as far as for seniors, we do something like the Yellow Dot program. A woman's name is Cheryl Bambury. She goes around to all the council on agings and does the yellow dot program. Basically, the yellow dot is they take a yellow dot and put it on the back of your car on your windshield. Excuse me. So if there's any accident or anything like that, the EMTs and the responding paramedics know what that is. And it's basically all your medical information in a folder in your glove compartment. It's not a big folder, but it says the medications you're on. So if you do unfortunately have a bad accident and you can't speak to the EMTs or the paramedics that show up, they know, but by looking at that yellow dot, they know that they're going to, they know where to look. They're going to go in the glove compartment. They're going to know exactly who they're dealing with. They're going to know exactly the ailments or medications or anything like that the patient is on. And it's huge. And it's a free service. The sheriff doesn't charge. And that's kind of that it works into going to the Council on Aging and explaining to the seniors what we have. And it's free. And they sign them up right then and there. They fill out all their medications in this. You know, the seniors are allowed to be able to take that home and that day put it in their glove box. And it's just a free service. That's great.
That's great.
We also have the Are You Okay program. You know, the older you get out there, you know, you lose your wife or you lose your husband and you find yourself alone a lot. And, you know, and you got older sibling or older son or daughter or whatnot, and they get involved in their life. So they may call once a month. It might go to once every 2 weeks, depending on what they got going on. It might go every day, which would be great. But it's, you know, like I said, so the Are You Okay? We do a phone call every day to our seniors who are on this program. I want to say there's a couple hundred seniors in Norfolk County on this program. And what she does every day is she has a call service and she calls every day. And if you don't answer the phone call on the time that you want the call, so it's up to you when the call comes. You can say the time of day or whenever you want it. And if you don't, we go to a second avenue. We'll call a neighbor and have a neighbor check on you. And then if we can't get a hold of the neighbor, then we'll call the local police department and we'll send a cruiser down to knock on the door. And it's that program alone. The Are You Okay has been around, I believe, the longest, and it's saved a lot of lives.
So when sorry to interrupt. So when it gets to a point that a police cruiser needs to stop by, is there a cost to the person getting checked?
No cost at all. Every one of the services will say that the sheriff is offering is all free. All free. All you do is you call, you say you want to be a part of it, you give a good number, you give your address. As long as you live in Norfolk County, it's all free. So it's why not do it? You know, is kind of my thing is, you know, I have old elderly mothers and fathers and stuff like aunts and uncles and stuff like that. And when the time is right, they'll all be on that program. It doesn't hurt to have someone call them once a day. If anything, you know, you talk to a lot of the seniors on council. When I go to the Council on Aging, they look forward to that phone call. That might be their only call all day that they're getting. And, you know, I speak to Cheryl sometimes and she'll have a full-fledged conversation with them to the point where I got to go now because I have to call 85 more people. You know, so it's, you know, the whole thing. And even the sheriff will go around, he goes around, he explains these programs to everybody. Why wouldn't you do it? You know, even if you were a caretaker for an elderly person, why wouldn't you just have the extra layer of security, knowing that phone call is going to ring at their time they want it to ring? Mm-hmm. And like I said, I mean, I've heard stories, they'll fall in the bathtub or they'll fall in their hallway or they can't get to a phone. And it's all within 20 minutes where those 3 calls are going to go out. And you're going to have a police officer knocking at your door for a well-being check. Yeah.
Well, you know, it's been many years since I've done orthopedic nursing, but, you know, you hear stories about, you know, elderly, they were found, you know, on the ground. They were laying there. They broke their hip. They were there for 3 days because they lived alone. So something like this Are You Okay program can really help that person right away, or as soon as, you know, a missed phone call was not answered. I mean, it's just, I can't even imagine being on the ground in excruciating pain for 3 days. So, you know, it's such a great program. Is this a national program or is it something that just
so I'm not, no. So it's just, and again, other counties might have the same thing. So again, so we're responsible for just Norfolk County. There's Suffolk County, Middlesex. Suffolk is obviously Boston. Then you got Middlesex, Worcester, Hamden. You got a lot of counties out there. So each county has a sheriff, obviously, and a county jail that the sheriff oversees. But he's also responsible for all these programs in his county. Mm-hmm. So I believe a lot of them kind of piggyback on what we're doing. But I can't speak for if they do it every day or anything like that. Like I said, it's just, I know as far as Norfolk County, because I do that. I go to every time we talk to the Council on Agings, Eddie's there with us talking to them. Mm-hmm. So not only do they get to, they sign up because they know Eddie's coming, they get to, they get all this information, and you'd be surprised how many aren't on this program, this free program. And, it's kind of mind blowing because, like I said earlier on, I said, if it was when my elderly family members, they'll all be on this program. It's free. It costs nothing to have a phone call sent to one of your family members every day.
How old does a person need to be to qualify?
All depends. I mean, I think they have younger and they maybe in their mid 60s that could be, disabled, confinement, home, in a wheelchair or something to that point. I'm not absolutely sure on the exact age, but I know they have some wiggle room with them if depending on what they have going on. If they're living alone and disabled, I think that's kind of a criteria where if you want it, you'll get a phone call every day.
Yeah, I suppose.
But that's something else. Again, Cheryl Bambry can explain all of that. Like I said, that's just what I listen to them and talk to them and kind of what goes on in the community. Yeah. So it's
I think
there's community events everywhere. Like we encourage them to. A lot of them don't have the internet or computer, but even if their family members have it, you just get onto your local county or whatever, and it'll tell you everything going on, whether it be the city of Quincy, town of Braintree, city of Weymouth, all that stuff. They have a local website, and every day we're in there, you'll see that we're in there and how to sign up. And if like I said, if you're not in the computer, the Council on Aging usually does it once every 2 months. They'll invite Cheryl down and she speaks. And again, she's busy because she gets around to all the Council on Agings. That's her one job, is to go out and just let all these seniors know what's going on.
Now, what happens if a senior qualifies, but they're either hard of hearing or
Yep.
do not have the mastery of the English language?
That's a great question. So I know as far as the hard of hearing, it's at this TTY machine. Mm-hmm. So most of them, now that would be on the family. Obviously, if you have an elderly mother, father, aunt, or uncle, a lot of that stuff on their end too would be where they would go out and get so they could communicate. So we also have that type of machinery also. We also have a language where we would call a number, get that person on the phone, and I think an automatic something takes over on the phone, and whatever the language is, they speak to that person in that language. So there's that. I don't know the name of that, but there's a lot of, like for instance, Quincy, the Chinese. There's a lot of Chinese in Quincy, we'll say, and it's different dialects from what I understand. So what they'll do is they have a different person when they call, say, Mike Monahan that day, they know the dialect of the Chinese language or whatever it be to speak. So they'll have that person already on the phone. And when you answer or whoever answers, that person will be talking, but it'll talk in English on the other end. So Cheryl will be able to understand it. So it's a crazy thing called modern technology. I still don't understand. I still struggle with an email. But yeah, no, it's like I said, it's been going on since Sheriff Bellotti was in charge. And like I said, Sheriff McDermott came in and just kind of tweaked it a little bit. And it's one of the longest programs, I would say, again, since I've been here for 23 years, It's always been going on. It's never stopped. It's just because it's a free service.
Yeah. I mean, what comes to mind is just like, there's a lot of things going on in my mind right now to ask you. So a couple of programs ago, I had somebody from the AARP Massachusetts. Her topic was loneliness and how to end loneliness and how important it is, especially during COVID and then post-COVID, how people, older adults, are still, maybe some of them are still kind of squeamish about going out into the public, and how their mental health has really kind of, taken a toll because of, the many different fears, lots of things going on in the world, and how loneliness is really on the rise. I could see how this type of program, if people knew more about it, hopefully more will sign up. So that way it can help alleviate that sense of loneliness. Right. Again, it's just a phone call, a quick hi, how you doing? Somebody they don't know that can take, just a few moments just to see how they're doing. That means a big deal, huh?
And, and you notice that like I said, every town has a council on aging, or I should say, if it's not just a dedicated building to the council on aging, there's some spot where all the seniors can go every day. I'm assuming every town has transportation. So the ones that I go to, and it's basically everyone in Norfolk County, has a bus, council on aging bus, and they'll come out and they'll pick you up. There's bingo on Fridays. You can just go hang out down there. Some of these council on agings are like a 5-star resort nowadays, depending on the financial stability of the town they're in.
Oh, yeah.
So just to go there, you talk to a lot of these seniors when you go into these places, excuse me, and it's, they just go, they hang out all day. They eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner there. They hang out, they play cards, they meet their buddies, and it's just almost like a clubhouse. And it's, like I said, a lot of them, some of them are nicer than others. But there's always that spot and there's always that person you can call available at one of those places. So I urge all the seniors to find out where your council on aging is and just kind of take a trip down, whether it be one of your loved ones that'll take you for a ride and go down and see it and see if it's something you're interested in. But again, if that's not, you can always choose to sit home. And again, that Are You Okay program will call you every day to make sure you're okay.
Yeah, definitely. Going back to the Yellow Dot program, so that's Norfolk County specific, or is that a national?
Yep. So that's another thing that the sheriff, offers through Norfolk County. And again, I can't speak for other sheriff's departments in the other counties, but I would imagine they have something similar to that. It might not be called the Yellow Dot program, but as far as Norfolk County, it's somewhat simple. If you're a paramedic or an EMT or in the fire department or police department, when you see that yellow dot on the back of a vehicle, whether it be involved in a crash, whether there's a medical emergency, whatever go on, you as a first responder you're trained enough to know, okay, if this person is incapable of answering my questions or we don't know who we have or the, knocked out or passed out or whatever's going on, I know that all the information on this driver who's driving this vehicle is in that glove box. Mm-hmm. So they pull out that they have a list of their medications. They have a list of their emergency contacts. I mean, that's a big help. Instead of calling her Jane Doe or him Jane Doe, you know exactly who you have. You know exactly the medications they're on. You know exactly where they live, and you know exactly their emergency contacts. Yep. It's just a life-saving opportunity that, if you don't know those medications or you don't know what's going on, it's just more information to try to help save a life sooner.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I do. The reason why I asked if the Yellow Dot program was a national program, because I teach and I do a lot of training on Stop the Bleed, recognizing life-threatening bleed and how, it can happen anywhere. It could happen in the roadways. You talked about motor vehicle crashes, right? Or it could be happening at home during vacation, whatever. But, it's good if it is a motor vehicle crash and there are victims laying there and there are people who are initiating the Stop the Bleed protocol. It would be good for people to know what that yellow dot is, or maybe to look for that yellow dot. And then that would prompt the person, to maybe when help arrives, okay, there's a yellow dot there, check the box or the glove compartment, because then it's going to be more an efficient way of really taking care of the victims.
As far as law enforcement too, if you pull over a driver who could be swerving, what they see a lot of is the diabetic comas. I don't know if people are, informed in that, but the diabetic coma is a real thing. If you didn't know that this person was going through this, you would think they drank too much or they're under the influence or whatever they're under. But, when you pull this car over and you see the car swerving or whatever's going on as a law enforcement end of it, you see that yellow dot, your mind's going to think something. Okay, maybe it's not my original that, they're drinking too much or they're under the influence or whatever they're under. Now your mind tells you, oh, there's a yellow dot. Maybe go in, talk to this person, whether they're coherent or not. Maybe look in the glove box, and right then and there, what's going on. Yeah. At least it's another avenue to explore to see maybe this might be what's going on. Yeah. It's just so helpful, and it blows my mind when people don't do it. Like I said, when my elderly family members, they will have a yellow dot on the back of their vehicle, and they will get a phone call every day, whether they like it or not, just to make sure they're okay. And like I said, it doesn't cost anything. It's a free service.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, the population is getting older and older, living longer and longer. So I can imagine how this.
And the more going on, Debbie, I feel like the seniors get left out of a lot of things.
Yeah.
With everything going on, and it's, you always want to take care of your veterans and your seniors because they've been around the longest. They deserve the most. They've done the most for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. That's why I love recording this program and making it really accessible on TV, right into the living rooms, because there's a lot of seniors who are not comfortable using technology, or they don't have access to it. So having a program like this, making it be accessible right in their living room or in the kitchen, is really important, and to get the message out, the pertinent information, the free information, helpful information, all these information is so important. Yeah, definitely.
Again, they're all free services, and they're all there only to help. So I would recommend any senior out there, look at it, investigate it, get on your Council on Aging, learn more about it, and see if it's for you.
I'm going to look into it for my parents.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm serious. It's just, I can't believe that I don't know about the Are You OK program and the Yellow Dot program. So definitely, they do have the Files of Life, which is really good. But the only thing is it's not filled out. So I guess it'll help if I filled it out for them, right?
That's right. And what we'll do is, if they go to the, like Cheryl will fill it out for them right then and there. She sits right down with them at a table, and, we can't ask what medications are on. Obviously, there's something called HIPAA that we all know that. Even if you're trying to do the right thing, you never know, you can't. So they tell Cheryl, and Cheryl writes down what they tell. And again, we've had instances where they might be confused or whatnot, and then they'll give an emergency contact and allow that emergency contact to talk to Cheryl, and then Cheryl will write all that down so the right information is in the card.
Yeah, definitely.
So definitely. There's ways around it, and and I think it's all good. Everything is good. She's trying to do everything right. But again, there's legality issues and stuff like that where you just can't come out and ask somebody, obviously, what medications they're on and stuff like that. So.
Well, any information that's going to be useful for the medical, healthcare providers, going to be, is a step in the right direction. So that's a good thing. Yeah, I was doing a fall prevention program yesterday in South Boston, and one of the topics was medications. And I like to tell the participants, know your medications. Don't just know them by the color or the shape of the medications, because I've had patients, working at the bedside. What medications do you take? Oh, I take a blue one at night, and I take a pink one, a half of a yellow one in the morning, and then there's the white one that I take. Okay, so what are the names? I don't know. Because these are too long sometimes. So
my wife has been a nurse for 20 years. She's a nurse at one of the local hospitals in Norfolk County, and she's actually had parents bring in their elderly, mother or father, and go down in the glove box and get the File for Life or Yellow Dot and bring it up to her. And then she can kind of log on. And once you log on, if that person's in the system, everything pops up at you. Yeah. But that even, like she says all the time, that is another tool that when my patient doesn't know, and the sibling, whatever it be, son or daughter, doesn't know, if it comes up that they have it, they get on and get me that form out of the glove box, bring it up to the bedside. I log on to her name and her meds, and then everything pops up right there. So that again, it's huge. It helps.
It really does. It really does. It really does. So let me ask you, if you had a magic wand and the budget is not an issue, legalities is not an issue, what would you like to have? What other programs would you like to offer if you had this magic wand for the seniors, or maybe for, people 40 and up?
What other programs would I like to offer? Just to get out in the community more, I think, to have a team of, and again, I wouldn't have said this 2 years ago because I wasn't involved in something like this. Now that I have Eddie and we go out and we see this, it wouldn't be such a bad thing to knock on a couple doors to see if you're okay. As far as it could even be the mental health end of it. It could either be the substance abuse end of it. Maybe when someone gets out of court, they go on, whether it be on probation or whatnot, and they're being released back into society. And it maybe wouldn't be so bad to maybe have a group of, 4 or 5 correctional officers that have, done a lot of time in there and understand it. And it takes the right person to do the right job up there, just like everything else. And if you got like a unit like that you could go knock on some of these doors, maybe the higher end, the higher crisis, you can kind of label them on what way you feel. And maybe just do that every day. And there's nothing wrong with a door knock. They could always say they don't want to talk to you, and that's fine. You turn around and you leave. but you never know. You never know what that person's going through. They just either get out of jail or they get out of the hospital or they were told they had a debilitating disease or you never know. So I'd like to see, a unit like that to be able to go out in the streets in Norfolk County and kind of knock on doors and almost be like, instead of a phone call to seniors, it would be a knock on the door for maybe substance abuse and mental health abuse.
Yeah.
That would be that would be something that I think. But again, you say the budget and stuff like that. We have enough time just trying to fill the jail. When I got hired, there was a long wait list to be able to get a county job in a jail. Now, none of the kids getting out of school want these jobs anymore for whatever reason. Even my wife will tell you she had to wait a long time to get into a hospital back in 1999. When she got out of college and whatnot. Now they can't find nurses. They have traveling nurses coming in all over the state, the country now to come in and, they're getting paid big bucks, but there's no loyalty there. There's no, these nurses are coming in, they're leaving in 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. So I think the way we're living right now to try to get people back to work is difficult. Yeah. People will tell you that resorts back to COVID. That's fine. But COVID's a couple of years ago. It's time to, pull your pants up and go to work again. You know what I mean? Try to get in and the more people we get to go back to work, the more programs that the sheriff can offer to get out there and do these things. Mm-hmm. But again, the jail is our number one priority. Unless the jail's running correctly, it's tough to send people on the street to try to take care of the elderly, the seniors and mental health and all that stuff, because we have to take care of the people that are working inside the walls also. Mm. So, that's his responsibility. He does a great job. He's done a great job since he's been elected, but you have to think of those things first. And it's easy for everyone to say, oh, you should just do this, you should just do that. But, you have to staff all that. You have to be budgeted for all that. And so a lot comes in. He's done a great job since he's come in. He's a big sheriff on the outside. He loves the outside. If he could, he'd probably have 2 or 3 more, dogs out in the street. He'd have more programs going on out in the street. That's why, he's willing to listen to. He has a big future for the next 6 years. He just was elected to a 6-year term. So, he's going to be able to get out there and do these things. But again, like you said, it comes down to budgeting and staffing. So if you have the budget, you have plenty of staff, very soon you're going to see a lot of outside activities take off,
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So, as far as, I'm not sure, did you say that Eddie, going back to Eddie, did you say that Eddie, you take him to hospitals, you take him to schools, elementary schools, you take him to colleges,
correct,
senior centers.
Yep.
Do you also take him to the county jail also? Okay,
so that's a great question. So the county jail basically is my employer, right? I work for the Norfolk County Sheriff's Office. That's what my paycheck says every day. I do. I actually just recently went up there and there was a staff member that, had some bad news or whatnot. And again, so we have 289 correctional officers. Don't quote me on the number, but we're high on correctional officers. But along with correctional officers, there's 3 different unions up there. There's supervisors, non-supervisors, and a place called the union called the Ad Tech. And you have case managers, you have caseworkers, you have secretaries, it takes a village to run a county jail. So it's not just so much security and corrections officers. That's only one piece of it. If you look around, there's a lot of people up there with, a lot of different lifestyles and stuff like that. So yeah, so it would almost be like me walking into a hospital when you walk into the jail, and the secretary who sits out front, who answers the phone, gets to see Eddie, and you go into human resources and you go into these programmings. Depending on what's going on with an inmate, as far as staff, I go up and I see staff on a regular basis. But as far as an inmate, again, if you go up there and a staff member knows an inmate that's been there a long time, who's doing the right thing and there's not a behavioral issue, they'll say, hey, can you come down and go see so-and-so over in cell, whatever the number be? He had a bad phone call yesterday. So Eddie and I will take a walk over there and knock on the cell door and see if he's willing to see him. And I haven't had a no yet. They all want to, and I allow them to pet them and I allow them to hang out with them. So again, it's just a different environment. There's a lot going on with a lot of different things. So like what I do in the hospitals, I do inside the county jails. Again, you can't forget about where you came from, and it's inside your county jail, and you want to go and you want to help these people out just as much as you want to help the seniors out, And again, inside the jail is a lot of abuse, a lot of mental health, because, a while ago, they shut down all the mental health facilities in the state of Mass. So they have nowhere to go but jail. You talk to a lot of them will break a window to be able to come to jail and just get fed through, the homelessness is bad, the mental health is bad, and the substance abuse is bad. So where do they all go? They go to a county jail. So, yeah, like I said, it's a whirlwind. Eddie's just the best. It was a great idea by Sheriff McDermott, and it's taken off.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Now, okay, I'm not sure if this is a silly question or not.
No problem.
So, dogs like Eddie,
Mhm.
how do they keep from absorbing other people's stress or stuff? Because he is exposed to so many dynamics of energy or people.
So Eddie is basically, he's only going to read me. I'm his handler. So what they say, the old word is when you get into this canine world, is they call you the dope on the end of the rope. So basically, he understands me on the end of his leash. He's always on a leash. I always have complete control over him, and I always control his environment. So if we're going in somewhere and I don't think it's safe to bring him into that environment, I don't. He's my number one concern. It would almost be like a child. From a mother and a father to a child, you're not going to bring that person into an unsafe environment. That's my job as a handler. I control that. He knows how I'm feeling. He can understand my stress, whether it be in my voice or whatnot. But as far as everyone else, his job is just to go up and sit down and hang out with you. It's up to me to stop him from going into an environment like that. He's a very happy-go-lucky dog where he'll come up and he'll hang out with anybody. But he listens for me and he listens for my commands, and he knows when it's time to work, when it's not time to work. He knows when it's time to get out of a certain situation. It's a thing called NASRA, which is kind of, you go, the student, basically the police department, the school resource officers, the police will put an officer or two into the schools, and some of them, and you have to go through all this training to understand the mental health aspect of it from a younger point of view. So, there's been times I not only go to the schools, but I go to like the ARC program, which is disabled adults that live there, some of them have been living in these programs for, 10, 12 years. That's their home. And you'll go in and they're unpredictable. So you just kind of have to know your environment, and you always want everyone to meet them, but you always have to be aware of your surroundings. And maybe that person just wants to hug Eddie, but he's hugging him way too tight, and you don't want that to happen. You don't want to have to pry someone's hands off the dog. You don't want to let it get to that point. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot that goes into this. And like I said, and you go to these classrooms and you try to understand mental health a little bit more, and you try to understand the disability a little bit more. And, you just kind of take the day by day. Yeah. A lot of people ask me, that's a good question that you asked, but a lot of people ask me, everybody pets him every day. You're going into the hospitals. Eddie gets a lot of baths. Let's put it that way. And again, like I told you, I live in a family of 6. I have a wife and 4 kids, including myself. My oldest is 17, my son, and I have 3 daughters from the age of 15, 13, and 10. So I don't want to bring anything home to them either. So, and again, you have to take all of that into consideration. So he knows the tub, he jumps in and out. He loves his baths now. At first he didn't, but he gets one every other day almost. So it keeps all the diseases and all the stuff off that you could possibly pick up depending on where you are. You don't want to bring it home to your family.
Yep. So during the school year, you have schools to visit.
Yes.
So during the summer, is your schedule less? Do you find that you have more?
Unfortunately, it's almost more. So the winter, so I started this in April. So it was April, May, June, July, August. It was busy. It was 6 days a week. We have things going on in the winters. In the summers, we have things going on weekends. We have a kids camp that we offer here in Braintree. I don't know if anyone's aware of it, but it's the Braintree Kids Camp. And that's Monday through Friday. And that runs from early May or middle of May all the way through the end of August. So every day there's an upwards of 250 kids at this camp in Braintree that I bring Eddie to, and he stops in and sees these kids. And I explain to the kids what they're doing. So that right there is 2 or 3 days. Usually the winter is a little quieter because in able to get into a school, you have to speak to the principal. You have to get okayed by the school nurse. You have to watch out for some of them are allergic to dogs. So it's a process to try to get into these schools. There's a lot of emailing back and forth. Once you're in, and they know who you are. But again, you're on a time restraint. You can't stop them from going to every 25 minutes, the bell rings. So you have to go in there in that 25-minute span, and you may have to meet 3 classes in that 25-minute span. So you try to get them all. There's a lot of planning behind the scenes that goes into it too, that nobody really realizes, but you can't disrupt their daily schedule either. So everybody trying to kind of works together. And so there's just as much as going out in the community as it is sitting in front of a computer and trying to book all of this stuff too, and answering emails and answering phone calls. And so it's basically, it's nonstop 12 months out of the year. But as far as when it gets nice out, a lot of the community events are on weekends and holidays. So you go out there on the weekends, you go out there, you work 6 days a week that week or 7 days a week, like a day like today, after I'm done with you, I might not have anything going. So it'll be an easier day. All my emails get sent. Everything gets, I try to book all my stuff. So I have a very good boss who I work for. And again, he gives me a lot of leeway because he understands a little bit that what goes on behind the scenes. And basically, like I'm talking to you today, so.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming and being a speaker today. So, because I'm definitely learning so much from you.
Every program behind the scenes is scheduling and staffing it. And so again, it's a busy place up at the Norfolk County Sheriff's Office.
Yeah. It makes it look so easy. You just coming in there with Eddie, but it's a lot of.
But again, that was planned a month and a half prior to everybody get on the same page. To you know what I mean. So, and that's reality, and that's kind of what happened. You can't you don't want him to be looked at as a disruption. Like, oh, here he comes again. We got to stop what we're doing. You want to make the person or organization where you're going there feel comfortable. You don't want to disrupt them because they're not going to want you back.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Exactly. So, as far as we're almost at the top of the hour, we have like 5 minutes or so. So, what are some key points that you want people to, take away from this program? What you shared about Eddie and
So I just want them to know that I'm available. I'm going to give you my phone number at the end here, and you can call me. If you jump online, you'll be able to find my email. I have business cards I hand out. I don't have a problem with even going to a house visit. If there's an elderly person who just had some bad news or lost a loved one or whatever it be, if we can set something up where Eddie can come by and just kind of hang out with that person in their own environment, which a lot of people would rather, me going to them rather than them having to get out of the house and go to a council on aging building to meet me. We're available. Like I said, the sheriff, said right to me, we're going to hit this ground and we're going to run away with this. So I expect you to be out there in the community, kind of doing what I hired you to do. And I've been doing that. So, the sky's the limit. Eddie and I are always around. We're all around Norfolk County. Like I said, the scheduling's one big part of it. If I can have a phone call or an email, and I will do my best to get that scheduled and come visit with you. Basically, we're here for you. And that's why he put us out here.
Yeah, that's so great. That's so great. And I look forward to having you and Eddie back in one of my programs at the Senior Center. Hopefully
next week we'll be able to stop by We'll be able to stop by. And I'll tell you, even your program is, I was shocked how many people were there. Sometimes you go and there's 4 people. Other times you go and there's 30. You had a packed house. So So it was nice to kind of get that group together, and out of your program that I've had 3 people reach out to me so far.
Really?
Yeah. And out of their program, they do programs on the side, whether they have a Bible meeting at somewhere or whatever. And so, I've had 3 people from that town hall that you did basically reach out to me, and I have them booked in, and I'm going to go meet them wherever they go. And so it's busy. It's a revolving door. It's just the key is to let it be known what we offer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Got to keep talking about it, talk it up, and kind of showing up. Like you said, you just got to show up.
Yep. That's it. And for the people that don't show up, if it's something that they're willing to, I have no problem knocking on their door and hanging out for, 20 minutes, 25 minutes to say hello. And again, that makes someone's day when you're going over there and saying hello. And again, if you don't want it, that's fine. But you never know unless you ask.
So what is your typical day like then? If you're going to schools, hospitals,
so schools start anywhere between, 7:30 and 8:10. So usually the day before I'll know, I usually get there probably 7:30, 7:45. I check in with the principal. Usually I'll do kindergartens, like I said, through 3rd grade. I can't do all of those in one day. So whether it be that day, so I'll see them for probably 25 minutes times 3 classes. I'll leave, I'll go back, whether it be a council on aging, whether it be another school in the afternoon, whether it be, anything basically. It's just, you have an 8-hour time frame that you're working legitimately 6.5 hours out of that 8 hours. And again, like I said at the beginning of this, you can't do too much. He's a dog and he still needs his downtime. And, me as a handler need to know what his limitations are. So there's days that we'll do 1 or 2 events. There's days that we'll do 4. There's days that we'll do none. I consider me talking to you today an event, but after we hang up, I'm going to get back on the computer and call, I think, to 17 people that I have to call today and book out for the rest of the month. And, I have some people that work with me inside the jail too, that kind of check on me. And like I said, all these leads are coming in from different avenues. So again, we have Zoom calls and we have meetings and we do all the bookings, and it's extremely busy. It's busier than it was when I was a narcotics handler. Those were all planned. Not every, a lot of the time is the downtime and your crews are waiting for something to happen. This is, they're booking out 2 months in advance and it's 5 days a week. So it's busy.
Yeah. Wow. That's great. Well, Thank you so much for being on the program, Mike, because I really learned a lot from you, and I hope the viewers out there do as well. Yes. And they take the time to reach out to the Sheriff County's office to find out more information about the senior programs. Right. So if anybody needed to get in touch with you, Mike, what's the best way?
I'm going to give you my office number is 781-751-3412. You can call that 24 hours a day, leave me a message, and I'll get back to you on if I'm off, it's the next business day or the following morning. Or you can always call up to the jail. The main jail's number is 781-329-3705. There's an operator that'll answer Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And you can just ask for me by name and they'll send you that way. And leave me a message, and I'll get back to you within 24 hours and we'll plan on meeting each other.
Thank you so much. So we'll end the program right here. I'm just really excited to have you on, Mike, and I look forward to having you back on again. And I want to thank the Quincy Health Department for sponsoring the Aging Strong program, which can be seen under Health Links in the QA TV. Until next time, I wish everybody a healthy, happy, and really a safe day. So take care. Bye-bye.